I think that we treat Luka differently than we do every other superstar. Here's the most technical fouls in the last 5 seasons. When Draymond gets kicked out of a game, whether he deserves it or not, Draymond gets ripped. When Dillon Brooks gets kicked out of a game, we said, Dillon Brooks, what is he up to? And when Luka has 73 technical fouls, and he has missed more time than these guys, more than both of these guys, then yes, your reputation is going to precede you.
Yes.
If I go over to your house and your dog tries to bite me every single time I go over to the house, and then finally I'm like, you know what? If this dog tries to bite me one more time, I'm gonna freak out. And he lunges at me and you're mad at me, like, no, he was trying to bite the mailman, not you. He was trying to bite the mailman. Oh, that wasn't you, Kevin. That was the mailman he was trying to bite. Like, oh, shoot, my bad. I didn't realize this one time he was trying to bite the mailman because he lights up the mailman too.
Can I respond to both those points? The Draymond Dillon Brooks thing, because that's an important graphic. I don't know if we can put it back up. If that really is just their technicals.
Mm-hmm. Does this include?
No, that does not include flagrants.
No, right, Josh?
And just exactly.
Yes.
Draymond and Dillon Brooks in particular, but Draymond historically, Draymond's gotten better about it. When they have been criticized the most, it has been for dirty, dangerous play. It has been for Draymond stomping on Sabonis' chest, Draymond being suspended for a finals game, not for technicals, but for flagrants. For Dillon Brooks hitting LeBron in the groin. Draymond also oddly hit LeBron in the groin.
Yeah.
But so those are, you're right, those guys get criticized. But that's a separate bucket. So Luka's not a guy that gets flagrants. Luka's not a guy that gets thrown out of games for those things. And so I am not arguing that Luka is not the #1 draft pick for Ref Annoyer and Ref Barker. I agree. Obviously
There's
that's
consequences
true.
to it.
So this is where I think I disagree with you guys. I don't look at the dog biting a guy analogy. I look at it as the refs are the vet, and it's the job every single time to, you know what? Clean slate. Fresh, I am here to be professional.
Right.
I can't bring my baggage with me from the past. I don't think it is right. And I do think that you should not necessarily be, just like Joey Crawford, was it, with Tim Duncan? Yeah. You know what I mean? Refs that bring,
with Chris Paul.
Right, that bring baggage with them because of previous issues, to me, are not the guys who should get playoff assignments.
Issue was in the third quarter.
No, so,
if he wasn't, then don't get a tech in the third quarter.
What I'm trying to say is, I think Luka's the only player on the court who would have gotten that tech in the third quarter for 15 feet from the ref.
But there's a magic word. You know, there's a magic word you can't say, and every time you say it,
by the way, are we saying the F word?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking
You're
about?
going to get a technical. No, I'm just saying, every time you say it, you're going to get the T.
Okay. Bringing up Draymond Green is in that whole thing and acting like, oh, Draymond Green only gets hate for when he plays like dirty, right? For stomping on Sabonis, which I already talked about before. You mean when Sabonis grabbed his leg and we're gonna pretend like Draymond really like just stomped on Sabonis? That's just so absurd. And we're gonna act like LeBron didn't bait Draymond Green, that whole thing. Like, that's just so insane. And not to mention, first things first, and Nick Wright, they had a whole conversation about Draymond Green. I think it was last season, when Draymond got thrown out of the game. It was with the first 5 minutes of a game or something, and people thought Steph Curry was crying or something, and Nick ripped him and said, oh my god, this is so bad, they're ruining, Steph's career, and they're gonna have to move on from Draymond. Everyone's so sick of Draymond, and etc., etc., etc. So to act like Draymond only gets heat from dirty plays is just wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, it's just not accurate. And so this whole thing, this whole idea that the refs need to be the vet and rather than the mailman or whatever. And it's just and there needs to be a reset every single game. That's not how human behavior works. That's not how sports works. That's not what happens when you're playing 82 plus games a season, obviously including playoffs. And when you're just relentlessly going after the refs every single game. Every single game. Okay, how about this? It's up to Luka to not act like a freaking dog. How about that? How about that? It's up to Luka to not act like a dog and act like an actual human being and not get after these refs in their face game after game after game after game. It's insane. And then to try to question the professionality of these refs in that regard is just absurd. It's absurd. I'm not Mr. Pro Ref that refs can do no harm. But as someone who actually reffed games, you know, both men's and women's, football, basketball, baseball, and I played sports, obviously, I can speak to this. This is the way it goes, man. You're in constant conversation with these guys. And in a perfect world, you'd hit the reset button. Everybody would start from scratch. But like Wild said, he already got a technical earlier in that game. He already got a technical. Like I said, if you dress like a lowlife and you get treated like a lowlife, that's the way it works. That's the way it works. Okay? It's like if I go out in public and I got ripped clothes and stains all over. I got like black and blue marks all over my face, bloody nose. And I'm like, oh, excuse me, sir, I'd like to get a bank loan. They'd be like, I think it's time for you to leave. And be like, oh, how dare you treat me like I'm some degenerate just because my clothes are ripped and stained and I have a bloody nose and black and blue marks? I'm seeking a loan for $100,000. I have a great credit score. It's like, that's not the way it works. It's the way it's never worked. It's disingenuous to put that argument forward. There's a reason why Nick Wright goes out of his way to be the sharpest dressed person he can at the table. He's always wearing a vest, always wearing high-end suits, always. Because he knows appearance drives a lot, especially in the media, especially in television. Especially. It's just the way it works, man. It's just the way it works. I never got the benefit of the doubt for many, many calls throughout my playing time. And again, in hindsight, once I matured and grew up and can look at it in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I was carrying on. I was Luka carrying on. Non-stop. And then I would be shocked. I remember one time going to the refs, I was like, why don't you like me? And the ref was like, what? I think I said, why do you hate me? And the ref was like so taken back. He's like, I don't hate you. Like, what are you talking about? But it was like, I was a jerk. I made their lives brutal. Luka makes their lives brutal. Like, oh, it's part of the job. Part of the job is to not be a jerk too. How about that? Considering how much Luka barks, the sheer fact that in 5 seasons that he only has like 60 technicals, 73, and that just shows you how much restraint the refs actually do have. So yeah, it gets old, man. It gets old. That's the reality. Anyone who loves to defend this type of behavior, you're just confused. Seriously. You're just confused. And because everyone always says, oh, refs, no one comes to see the refs. You're right. So it's up to the players to do a better job, to be better people. And again, blame the NBA, not the refs at this point. The refs are being hounded non-stop. Blame the NBA for allowing this to be the culture of the NBA. Like I said in my previous video, the NFL doesn't have this problem because you can't yell at the refs. There was the one game with the Bengals. It was the Bengals versus the Chiefs, and Jamar Chase was actually yelling at the ref. And it was like, something that you just never see. You just never see it in the NFL. Just like not a thing. You complain maybe for like all of a second, and then then you're like on to the next play. But it's not this constant complaining to the refs second after second after second, play after play after play, drive after drive after drive. Same thing even with baseball. You do not yell at the refs or yell at the umps. You have some disagreements at times, and occasionally you do, and usually you get thrown out pretty quickly. They allow the managers to run out on the field and scream and yell and do all that. They allow that. But if you're a pitcher and you throw a strike and you don't think it's a strike, You do not bark at the ump. It's just not a thing. And in fact, if you even remotely show up the ump by even going like that or something, like even something little, like, and make a face and roll your eyes and roll your neck a little bit, it's like you're really on thin ice. But you are not pitching throughout a game and complaining to the ump. Just not a thing. And the catcher also not complaining. And when you're batting, like for the most part, sometimes you let some of your emotions, and occasionally if you on strike 3 or something, you look at the ump a little bit. But again, it's not a lot. On strike 2, if you think it was a ball, you like maybe kind of make a face, but you don't look at the ump and start barking at him and be like, that was a ball in the middle of the bat. It's just not how it works. And again, it's all culture. It's all what baseball allows, and it's what the NBA allows, and what the NFL allows. So blame the NBA at this point. Blame the NBA and blame the players. Blame the players. I carried on again and again and again and again, and then I finally had a coach. And unfortunately, it was near the end of my career where he was just like, I know your reputation. You will not be this player. You will not complain to these referees. If you do, you will be benched. And then in the beginning of the season, he made me go up to the team of refs and say, I had to shake their hand and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to be on my best behavior this season. He like made me, he made it very formal, very formal. And I stopped because I had a coach who laid out what needed to be done. And again, I wish I had that earlier. I would have been better, but I didn't have it. And then at the end of the game, at the end of one game, a huge playoff game, I won the game for our team, and I had a problem with the ref at the end of the game, and it was like a newer ref. And I was then going to be suspended for our next round of the playoff game. And the refs had to get together and allow me to play, because it was just like I wasn't doing anything towards the ref, but whatever. I think he thought that I touched him or something. Like, but it was a weird situation. I forget. At this point, it was years ago, and it was like the other refs knew my reputation, but they knew that I never got physical with the ref. They knew that I was always barking and complaining and went hard, but like and they also knew that I was at the end of my line of playing at this point, and it was like, this could be my final game of my entire life. You gotta let me play. And they did. But again, it's all reputation. Reputation is everything. Better believe if I had more of a problem of being more physical with refs in the past, I probably would have not been able to play in that playoff game. So, yeah. It's a shame. Again, blame the NBA. It's 100% on the NBA and the players. And the players. Players deserve culpability. I actually really don't think you blame the refs at this point. I really don't. And again, I rip the refs plenty. I am not just like, going to bat for the refs. Like, I'm really not. But when you really take a step back and understand what is being imposed upon these refs from these players, game after game after game, these are just human beings. These are just human beings. And so, and if you're saying that the refs need to be the vets, the veterans, the veterinarians, then you're admitting that someone like Luka is a dog. That's a Luka problem. That's an NBA problem. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about, the whole issue with the refereeing and Luka and players like Draymond, Brooks? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.